Well, welcome to the Child Passenger Safety Coordinators meeting. We're excited to have you here. I wanted to welcome you. My name is Mandi Seethaler. I'm from the Center for Safe Alaskans. I'm the Alaska Statewide CPS Coordinator, and I'm the Vice Chairperson for the National CPS Board. As a reminder, all participants are asked to refrain from driving while participating during this meeting, hands-free or handheld. The National Child Passenger Safety Board is a program managed by the National Safety Council, and it's their policy to end the call if someone is participating while driving. This will disconnect everyone online, so we really appreciate your cooperation. Next slide. We do have an exciting agenda today, and all of our speakers are current members of the National CPS Board. The 4 topics we are going to cover are CPS Week, CPS Month, Recertification, and the National Digital Check Form Platform Update. Again, please remember to type your name, state, and your questions in the chat box, and we are going to get started with Laura Dunn from NHTSA headquarters. Thank you, Laura.
Hi, everybody. This is Laura Dunn from NHTSA headquarters, and it's nice to talk to you guys today. I wanted to give you an update about Child Passenger Safety Week and things that you can expect to see in terms of assets from NHTSA. So what you'll be seeing in the next week is our updated 2020 earned media. There is a website update happening right now with the site that hosts traffic safety marketing. So as in the past, you can find assets related to CPS Week on that trafficsafetymarketing.gov site. So the latest that I've heard is we should expect all of that earned media material next week. So as soon as I know, I will let the board know and we can get the word out that it's available. So that will include assets that are specific for in-person events, as well as activities that are happening virtually or other types of activities. So there is a wide variety of things available for the different situations that people are going to be dealing with this year. You'll see some updated social media, graphics, some GIFs, some infographics, things of that nature that you can use on social media. Remember that you can tag some of those things with your state logos or other information if you need to, and you can contact Elizabeth Nilsson about doing that, and her information is on that TSM site. Another quick update that I wanted to give is that there are going to be 2 reports coming out really soon that involve child passenger safety. One of them is called the Evaluation of Correct Installation of Child Restraint Systems. So this was an experiment that assessed both new and experienced child restraint users on their installation of several different ones, and it kind of looked at the differences there. The next one is awareness and availability of child passenger safety information resources. And that is a nationally representative survey of caregivers and their knowledge and use of child passenger safety inspection stations, barriers to use, and also facilitators of use. So you can find those reports on the NHTSA.gov site under research. And if you have questions about how to find that, please feel free to shoot me an email. I'm laura.dunn@dot.gov. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Judy Hammond.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, everybody. So nice to chat with you today. I want to give you a little update on what's going on with the inspection station locator that is on NHTSA's website. We are in the process of updating it to indicate where inspections will be done virtually, and we will be able to have that information on our website. So now would be a good time for you to start thinking about updating your inspection station information. And if you're going to be doing and holding virtual inspections, please add that information and send it to your regional child passenger safety coordinator. Again, we're hoping to get that up and running very soon, certainly before CPS Week, so it can still be advertised as such, because I know there are not going to be too many in-person events, mostly the virtual sites. So we want to be able to help you with that endeavor. Again, many thanks to all of you for all you do for child passenger safety, and especially during CPS week and Seat Check Saturday. And that's all I have right now. Again, send the information to your regional CPS coordinator for CPS week or any other changes that may need to be made to the site. And with that, I'll turn it over to Alexis with Safe Kids Worldwide talking about CPS month. Take it away, Alexis.
Oop, I think I was muted. I muted myself. Sorry, guys. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Alexis Kagiliery from Safe Kids Worldwide, and I want to share some news with you regarding how Safe Kids is going to be celebrating CPS month. Yesterday, we had a great launch with the webinar with our coalitions, and we have some exciting things that they're going to be doing this year. If you could for the next slide. Well, as Laura spoke about and Judy, it's not the same this year. So we are going to use all of our tools in our toolbox, as Trine Kreppy likes to say. We are going to be really flexible with the coalitions this year. We do not have any expectations. We have requests and we'll provide them with materials. But the biggest thing is that we want to make sure that a coalition at any capacity would be able to participate in some way during CPS month and especially during CPS week. So we have the three different areas that we're going to cover. The traditional would be the in-person inspections. And we're seeing a lot of our coalitions registering in-person inspections with social distancing. I approve all the events, so I am seeing an uptick in that. Also to virtual, we're going to highlight virtual CPS education and also social media. So if folks can't participate in traditional or virtual, they'll have some tools to be able to push it out through social media. Next. So with our virtual CPS education, back in April, we partnered with Safe Ride News, Bretex, and Good Baby to be able to provide some resources as guidance because we were just getting used to what was happening and acclimating. So we kicked off with the virtual CPS education, which was one-on-one basic education. That's without a checklist form. Then we had the virtual inspection, which we looked towards Denise Donaldson at Safe Ride News to provide those wonderful resources. And then we felt that there was one piece missing, which was the virtual CPS class, which is new that we will be, we have developed a whole toolkit. And with the toolkit, oh my goodness, has so much stuff in it, but we have presentations, PowerPoint presentations for rear-facing, forward-facing, and booster. We use those wonderful resources and the new video library, thanks to NHTSA, to be able to use their pictures and also videos. And we designed these presentations so parents can follow along easily. They're under 30 minutes. And we also provided notes, so a person that's not comfortable with virtual education will have notes to be able to follow that will help them get from the start to the finish of these presentations. We also, too, had Stephanie Heitch, which she was gracious of doing. She actually taped these presentations. So say if a coalition or CPST doesn't have the time to be able to coordinate the efforts, they would be able to push that out on social media and maybe set up some office hours. So we gave a variety of different ways that you could be able to use these. We also, too, have a scheduler's worksheet. We have a homework worksheet. The neat thing about this is that we wanted to learn from the field. So we had 6 of our coalitions that reached out to us, and we formed that have done virtual inspections, and they wanted to be able to help. So we put together an advisory committee, and they shared what they've learned, lessons learned, and that's how the virtual CPS class guide was done with all of these resources. So they also reviewed them. So we have them on the Members Resource Center right now, but as soon as we can get them up for CPS certification, we'll make them available on the CERT website for all CPSTs to use. Next. Great. So this is sort of what CPS month looks for Safe Kids. We're going to do a lot of, we're going to do some Facebook Live. We are going to be highlighting the virtual classroom toolkit. We have all the resources in the resource center, but they'll be put on the certification site. We also too promoted recertification. We have 6 different videos of how someone can be able to do a virtual car seat check to get checked off for certification. I have to tell you that I threw myself into the lion's den, and 2 of those videos are of me doing my mock seat check, so please don't go hard on me. And then the other ones were with an actual seat check with a parent, with a technician, and then the instructor was listening in to be able to do the check off. So it gives people the flexibility and hopefully the comfort level to know that they can do that too. So I think, I have one more slide left. So I said we don't have any expectations, but we did ask the coalitions to participate in CPS Week. We want them to be able to do a virtual CPS class if they can, to try it out. We want them to register it on the program management tool, which is real important because in working with Judy Hammond over the years, Safe Kids provides all the events that are registered to NHTSA so they can post. So we'll be sending over all the events, the virtual, and also too we'll do the traditional, the in-person, so NHTSA will have a list of those for CPS Week. And we're also too going to participate in the national social media campaign, and our coalitions are really excited about this. They had lots of really great questions yesterday, and the neat thing about the virtual piece and all of us working on this is that I get to work with certification, which usually doesn't happen, and we're able to share these resources and work together to give others those tools. So that's it. Thank you very much for having me and learning about what we're doing for CPS month.
Thanks, Alexis.
And I'm turning it over to one of my favorite people, Kerry Chausmer.
Thank you, Alexis. Delighted to be here. Long-time listener, first-time caller. It's so nice to see so many of you guys on the call. And the reason why I don't really have anything on my slide is because I don't have an update yet. As you know, or as I hopefully you know, Safe Kids has been working very hard to come up with an alternative to seat checks and teaching hours because we know that that's just not possible in this time of COVID. And we will have options available to you that will happen hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But the options will be something that you will be able to complete at home at no charge. So we understand that the seat checks are best. You know, we always talk about good, better, best. And some of the resources that Alexis talked about, including the mock seat check videos that she and I did together. And again, we would like you to be kind. It's very hard doing it on camera. And so we just recorded it flat out. And so I think that those are still useful. We're still promoting seat check sign-offs if you can do them virtually or in person. But again, there will be a different path. There will be an alternative to seat checks. And if you're an instructor or your instructor team doesn't have hours to recertify, there will be another path for teaching hours as well. So unfortunately, I don't have any solid news for you except to say, stay tuned. We will have that information and we'll send that out to you in an email directly. So you should get the scoop hopefully before everybody else does, because we know that you have a lot of planning to do in your state and your region. So please, if you have any questions or concerns, go ahead and give me a call or email me. I'm going to go ahead and put my email address in the box so you can just send me a note. But just know that Safe Kids, NHTSA, the board, we're all working together. We know that this is an unusual time, and we want to make sure that there are opportunities to stay certified if you cannot go out into the public or don't feel safe going out into the public. So I am going to tag in Amy.
Thanks, Kerry. Hi, everyone. Thanks for participating today. The National Digital Car Seat Check Form is a very collaborative effort, so I'm going to have you hear right from the NDCF program team. Today, we're going to share information about a very exciting, I think, program update that is coming soon. So whether you've already used the NDCF or have considered it, we invite you to reach out and learn more. I want to thank everyone who's already provided feedback in the process up to this point. And Adele Polson from Westat is going to share how your feedback has been put to use. So with that, I'd like to introduce Adele Polson from Westat's Transportation Safety Research Center.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm really happy and very excited to be with you today and fill you in on all the work that we've done to gather feedback on the NDCF, and also we're going to give you a sneak peek at the new data dashboard. So over the past year, the NDCF team has worked diligently to collect and review suggestions to improve the form. We've quite literally reviewed every single suggestion made by users and of course our different expert panels. In total, the NDCF program team has had 27 different meetings to review, discuss, and implement the feedback we've received. So please do believe us when we take every suggestion very seriously and do our best to come up with a potential improvement, and then make sure that that improvement aligns with the overall goals of the NDCF and also with all of our long-term data analysis plans. So we've carefully considered options for addressing each concern raised by each of the users. When necessary, we've also reached out to our users and CPS organizations to solicit more specific feedback and to integrate that new feedback into our solutions. So I believe some of you on the call have even helped us, because I know Jennifer has reached out to different state coordinators for feedback, and we sincerely appreciate all of the information you've been able to give us. Next slide, please. So compiling that information started with feedback from the users. We compiled all of the feedback that was submitted via the NDCF website, that report feedback button. We do carefully review all that and collected all that information. And also, many of you sent emails to our training coordinator, Jennifer. So she tracked all of those and passed that on to us. We held one-on-one conference calls with 4 different super users to gather their detailed feedback, people that had been using the form extensively and really wanted to tell us what they thought and what we could do to improve it. In total, this resulted in 78 unique suggestions. Next slide, please. We also presented to and solicited input from members of various CPS organizations. We presented and participated in conference calls with the Manufacturers Alliance for Child Passenger Safety, with the Auto Alliance, and of course with all of you CPS state coordinators. And additionally, we've worked very closely with the National Child Passenger Safety Board, asking for their technical expertise, and they've also conducted a lot of the initial reviews of the updates to the form. So these organizations have provided critical feedback on all of our proposed solutions. Next slide, please. So Jennifer, in a few slides here, is going to go into some of the details of the improvements to the NDCF, but I wanted to give you a quick preview of what the data dashboard is going to look like. So our plan is to release this dashboard on October 1st with the new release of the NDCF. So each user will actually have 2 dashboards. There's going to be a national level dashboard, which is going to present all of the seat checks that have been conducted and stored in the NDCF. This dashboard for year 1 just represents the year 1 data, which is from July 2018 through September 2019. But we plan to do more frequent updates in the future. So we also will all have access to personalized dashboards based on your level of access. So as a state coordinator, you will be able to see all of these results just for your states. So the images I'm showing you today are the national level. So in that first year, we did 12,000 checks. And we also have an overall percent of misuse. So that's any type of misuse recorded was 47%, the number of different technicians, and of course the number of states where we saw car seat checks. And then this big chart over here on the right is the checks by year and month and by seat type. So if you log in as an individual user, you'll be able to see your car seat checks over time and kind of track the number of seat checks you're doing. Next slide, please. So I just zoomed in here on our main menu. That's going to be across the top, and you can see these are the different topics of information that you can look up the results. So we can look up different misuse. We have a zip code map, which is depicting all of different seat checks done by zip code across the country. And we have car seat information and also vehicle information. Next slide, please. So here's the car seat misuse page. Per a suggestion from Denise Donaldson, we decided to break out the page by unborn children and children that are actually present, because that's different types of misuse we would be looking at. And it depicts the overall misuse by state, and we did it with a heat map so you can tell the states that are seeing higher misuse and lower misuse. We also have misuse by type of car seat and by age. Next slide. And this is the vehicle page. I know it's a little bit hard to see on here. I promise when it's on your own computer screen, you can see these details. And you can even hover over all the bars of the chart to get the actual number of seats that were observed. But this information screen just really provides us with summaries of the types of vehicles we're seeing at car seat checks. So both the make and model, just the make, and then also we've done the year. So we kind of have an age of the vehicles that we are seeing at seat checks. The next slide. We had some limited time today, so this is really just a quick overview. There's really a lot more to see, and we can't wait to get it in your hands so you guys can click around and start to explore the results of all of this data. We are continuing to refine the dashboard, so we definitely welcome your feedback. I will type my email address into the chat box like Kerry did, so feel free to reach out and email me with any questions, suggestions, or feedback. And as always, you can go to the NDCF website and click on report feedback, and I see all of those suggestions as well. So I just, on behalf of the whole team, want to thank you so much for all of your support and all of your valuable feedback and suggestions. We really appreciate it, and I hope you're very excited to see what Jennifer has to show you and how we've taken all those suggestions to improve the NDCF. Jennifer, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Adele. I appreciate all that great information. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Boak, and I coordinate field training for the National Digital Car Seat Check Form, or the NDCF. I'm going to provide you with a summary of some of the updates that the NDCF program team's been working on over the past several months, and these changes did come as a direct result of all of the feedback that we received from the field. So you're going to hear us saying that over and over and over, that we do value your input, we appreciate your feedback, and that helps us to build a better program and a better product for the technicians that are using it out in the field. So currently we have over 2,500 registered users in all 50 states, and technicians have entered over 28,000 seat checks. So we are well on our way to gathering some really great data about the seat checks that are happening nationwide. And we fully expect these numbers to continue to trend upward as more people are learning about the benefits of the NDCF. So we're just beginning to see those benefits out in the field, and we're excited to see so many technicians taking advantage of this resource. So I'm going to be talking about some of the major updates that we are working on right now. We have updated all 5 of the platforms. We've done a major update. We started with our we actually started with our paper form and then built from there. So we have our web-based platform, which is at carseatcheckform.org. If you have not had an opportunity to play around with the NDCF, we encourage you to go to carseatcheckform.org and create that account so that you can begin to see what those platforms look like and how we're actually collecting that information. We do have 3 apps available. We have an Apple app, we have an Android app, and then based on a lot of feedback that we received from technicians in the field, we added last year the Kindle onto our app platform. So we were super excited to be able to add that Amazon Kindle as well, because we recognized quickly that there were a lot of users that had Kindles, and Kindles were also a relatively inexpensive option for users. And again, we also have the paper form, the updated is scheduled for October 1st, 2020. And now I'd like to spend a few minutes going over some of the changes that you can expect to see on these different platforms. So one of the first things that we really spent a lot of time on was addressing the child information. So you'll notice on this slide that we have made some changes and design changes to streamline the flow of the form. All of the child information has been combined and separated from the car seat information. So this is going to eliminate the need for technicians to skip questions and come back to that seat information once the seat has been removed from the vehicle. You'll also see that we've added some skip patterns, and these are designed to simplify the collection of the data and provide a smooth transition in between each of the questions. So this hopefully will eliminate some of the confusion about how a question should be answered if the question doesn't necessarily pertain to that seat check, because we recognized quickly as we were going through the forms and talking through scenarios that depending upon that scenario, that situation, the questions might be a little bit challenging to answer. So we really took all of that into consideration as we were navigating through these questions. If you look at question number 5, we added into question number 5 how the height and weight was documented. So based on feedback that we received from technicians and from users, they were looking for a way to describe how the way to identify whether that height and weight information was reported by the caregiver or was it measured at the seat check event. So we added that again based on that feedback that we received from technicians. We also received a lot of feedback from the child restraint manufacturers about product use. So if you'll notice under the child's age, if you look at the question number 1, we broke down the birth to 1 year age range and split it up into 4 different age ranges. And so this detailed information is going to provide manufacturers with the ability to better understand the use and misuse of infant-only features on their car seats. So this information has the potential to affect design changes as well as improvements in the labeling and instructions of their product. So we were really glad to be able to partner with them and receive that feedback. The checks from the check forms now gather more specific information about how the child was secured. For example, if the child is secured using a seat belt, and you'll notice on question number 6, it asks you how that child was secured. If the child was using a seat belt, the technician would then be prompted to record how the seatbelt was used. So we're breaking down that information, which will help provide us with a more detailed description of how that child was restrained. And here's another example of some of the changes that we've made with the car seat findings on arrival. All car seat information is now grouped together, so many of the NA options have been removed and more detail or skip patterns have been added to the questions where it was appropriate to do that. So for instance, under the booster seat restraint type, we've separated it out to now include high back booster and backless boosters so that we can gather more information about the type of booster seat that was being used. We also removed a lot of the NA options and again added more detail to certain questions in a hope that that would reduce the amount of information that was being recorded in the other field. And I'm sure you can all appreciate the fact that anytime you give somebody an opportunity to fill something in and add their own words, they add a lot of things to those other fields. And so we were trying to be really more specific on the form in hopes that we would have less input in those other fields. A few other highlights: all of the questions now are numbered both on the paper form and in the digital form, so that when technicians are using the paper form and then inputting that data into the digital platform, those numbers will correspond and it will be very easy for them to follow along. Something else that we're really excited about, this is a big update, is that we are adding the vehicle make, model, and year included in a drop-down menu from all vehicles that are listed on the NHTSA list. So this will include all vehicles manufactured after 2010. Our hope in this is that it will save technicians time and it'll eliminate some of the errors in vehicle identification. Something else that was also added was our vehicle seat check documentation. We wanted to be able to support technicians out in the field that were offering virtual seat checks, and so we were able to add some identifiers on the form as well, so to help support them when they're performing these seat checks remotely. On departure, if you notice on question 36 and 37, we have separated these into how the child was secured as well as how the car seat was secured. So we wanted to make sure that we differentiated before in the current form that's grouped together, and it was sometimes difficult for technicians to know how to answer that question. And so we decided to separate those questions so that we could really focus in on how the child was secured and separate that from how the car seat was secured. So another example of feedback received from the child restraint and vehicle manufacturers is in questions number 45 and 45A. So the current form asked the technician to document if the car seat was incompatible with the vehicle. And when we looked at our first year data of the approximately 14,000 records that we had, almost 4,000 of those seat checks reported that the vehicle was not compatible with the car seat. So that ended up being about 30%. And so, but with that, we had no information to tell us what those problems were. So as a result, we decided that this question was probably fairly confusing for technicians, and they weren't quite certain how to answer that question. So we worked closely with several vehicle manufacturers and child restraint manufacturers to rework that question and now provide them with more detail in how that question should be answered. Technicians also indicated that many wanted an easy way to document what educational materials were being discussed with the caregiver. So a discussion field was added for technicians so that they could document what common discussion items were shared with the caregiver. With the user guide that we've put together, the new user guide, it also provides more detailed information and additional resources on each of those discussion items listed. So we just ask that the technician just circle any and all of those different topics that they may have discussed with the caregiver. An additional field was also added to identify if the seat check was provided through a virtual appointment. The updated user guide has specific details on how to use the NDCF to support those virtual seat checks as well. We have spent a lot of time creating several supporting documents that will be uploaded to the cpsboard.org website when we roll out the new updated NDCF. And these includes our user guides for the paper form as well as digital platforms, and also several guidance documents to support the work that the technicians are doing out in the field using the NDCF. As we worked through the updates and the feedback, we learned that some of the questions were difficult to understand depending upon how the seat came to the inspection station, and some of the questions were open to interpretation, and that interpretation can ultimately affect the validity of the data that was collected. So we created the seat check scenario guidance document to assist technicians as they navigate through the NDCF in hopes that it will streamline that process and make it more efficient for the technicians. We also used this guide and went through every question on the paper form step by step to develop the skip patterns. And so we looked at lots of different possibilities and how that question could be answered. And I'm sure the team would agree, we probably spent 5 or 6 meetings just going over these different scenarios to make sure that those skip patterns were working how we wanted them to work. The new update will also include some how-to videos that we'll be putting together. As Adele talked about, your feedback is really important to the improvement of the NDCF resource. And just like the technician training, the NDCF is an ever-changing resource, and we want to make sure that it's meeting the needs of the technicians in the field. And we want to make sure that the programs that are depending upon this data are receiving that accurate data to help support their program planning. So again, don't hesitate to click on that report feedback button. We do review every single feedback submission that comes through, and because of that, we're able to make some really great changes to the NDCF. So we appreciate all of the time and effort that those of you have spent in providing us that feedback. As Kerry mentioned earlier, technicians and CPS program managers are looking for ways to maintain certification and provide outreach to caregivers during these really unprecedented times. And I don't know that there's ever been a time where we've had so many things, so many meetings and contacts with parents now done on a virtual setting. And the NDCF program has created some guidance documents to support virtual seat checks for caregivers, as well as virtual seat check sign-off opportunities for recertification. So we recognize that instructors and proxies are not necessarily able or willing at this point to meet one-on-one with technicians for recertification, and so we are offering virtual seat check sign-offs for those technicians as well. If you want more information, we have a supporting document on the cpsboard.org website for you to take a look at. Here's our contact information for field training support, virtual seat check sign-offs, or to schedule an orientation training for your state. You can contact me at training@carseatcheckform.org. And if you have any questions about your account, if you need assistance collecting your state data or setting up a primary point of contact for a particular program, you can contact Joe at info@carseatcheckform.org. If you need any other additional information, you can reach out to carseatcheckform.org, to the website, or the cpsboard.org website. We have a wealth of information there as well. So that is all I have. At this point, I'll turn it over to Mandy, unless are we fielding questions now, Mandy, or do you want to?
Yeah, I would love to field a few questions. We have just a few minutes, so it'd be a great time if you have some questions. We can talk about that. I think everyone's been enamored with the presentation because the chat box has been pretty quiet, but I'm really excited about these upcoming changes. Does anyone want to ask any questions of any of our speakers? I think everybody's just thinking really hard about how this could impact our work and the amazing things that we can do with this. Thank you, Kerry. Bueller. And if you have questions about things that weren't discussed today, we've got just a few minutes. If you'd like to ask those questions now, would be a great time to do that as well. We have lots of board members on this call that would be happy to help navigate those questions. Jason Kirkman would like to know, how is misuse calculated?
And this is Adele. I believe that's probably a question for me. Currently, the way misuse is calculated in the dashboard that you saw, on the NDCF, we ask it on arrival, for the car seat tech to inspect the seat on arrival and indicate if there was tether misuse, seatbelt misuse, harness misuse, and lower anchor misuse. I believe those are the key items. If any of those variables or anything is indicated as being misused, we're counting that as a misuse case. You'll see when we do roll out the NDCF, we do break down just any harness misuse, any tether misuse, any seatbelt misuse. But just for this presentation and for that homepage, it's any type of misuse in any of those areas or features of the car seat. That answer the question? And obviously we are open to feedback on how to calculate misuse. The great thing about the NDCF is the level of detail that we capture misuse and the different types of misuse that can be present. So if there are specific things that state collators would find beneficial, please let us know and we can calculate that. Thank you.
So Jason responded, thank you. So it could show more than one misuse on a single seat?
If I believe that calculation is if there was any type of misuse, that seat counted as being misused. So that doesn't double count seats, if that's the question. Each seat should only be counted once in that calculation.
Yes, so it was either misuse or not.
Correct.
Gotcha. Michelle, you had a question that was a follow-up from the last meeting, and I needed to get you some information. Was there an official update on cleaning products that we can recommend techs use in vehicles? Is there anyone on the call that has that official answer yet? I apologize, Michelle. That was something I needed to get back to you on from our last call. I'm going to make myself a note. We will continue this question and answer session. If you need to log off, please note our upcoming meeting dates. They are the second Wednesdays with the exception of November. where it will be held on Tuesday the 10th because Veterans Day is on November 11th. And we are so glad that you have been a part of this today. Again, we will continue to chat and answer questions, but we are really happy to have each of you with us today. So I'm looking forward to CPS Week. It's going to look very different from how it has in the past. But we're excited to get the message out and let people know that we're still here to help and still here to provide CPS education. Thank you, Dean, for the heads up. We like the little thank you notes. If you have topics for upcoming meetings that you would like us to address, we'd like to hear from you. You can see the email address on the screen of where to send those requests. We would like to address your needs. What are you thinking about and what are you wondering about and how can we help and support you in your CPS efforts and support your state?
Mandy, this is Jennifer. If I could just jump in just super quick, wanted to remind all of the state coordinators and NHTSA region representatives that if there's ever a topic that you would like to have shared on the CPS listserv, the state coordinators listserv, you can send it to me or you can certainly post it to the group yourself, whatever you feel more comfortable with. But just know that that listserv is available to all of you to be able to share ideas and ask those questions in a secure forum. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or if there's a topic that you'd like us to post information about. We're happy to help.
Thank you to all of our speakers today as well. We really appreciate your time in putting together this information and getting it ready to share with our CPS coordinators. I know I personally really appreciate it. It gives me some information to share with the instructors and the CPS technicians in my state. Do we have any final questions or thoughts or anything we could talk about with any of you today? All right, well, feel free to reach out to us. Again, thank you for your participation, and we look forward to the October 14th meeting here in a couple months. Thank you very much.